All
right. That was our intro song.
Oh, we were live?
And that's my opinion on the Lola Bunny redesign. Oh, we're live!
Oh, well, I guess they'll never know.
All right, Dan, it's your job when you put the VOD up to cut it to that point.
Yeah.
I expect Dom's comment to be the first thing we get, and you have to edit out this conversation.
Yeah, you have to cut out all of this part so that we don't get this in.
What about
Can you just
this part?
Can you just edit the whole thing so that we're super funny?
Yeah.
Don't
like
worry,
you do for our
we
Friday shows.
Look,
we can fix this live stream in post.
I already have to hide the fact that we record our shows for like 12 hours, like 2 days before, and I just edit them down, and then I play as all of the commenters and act like to synchronize when we pretend to interact with them. It's already a lot of work, and you want me to do this too?
What kind of terrible, like, Matrix Truman Show existence would we have to be trapped in, where Dan is this puzzle master that just orchestrates an entire live stream around the rest of us unknowingly?
Do we have our first movie idea?
What's that? Is it Adobe Character Creator or something like that, where you where you can get character models? Yeah, that's what Dan's doing all the time with 4 different characters.
Dan is live animating 4 people.
Yeah. I'm like Wanda.
Wait, at this point, do you live animate yourself too?
There's a take for you. In WandaVision, Wanda's just live animating a town of people.
They're not wrong.
So what the hell are we doing tonight then, if not live animating?
We are coming up with movie ideas. Hey, Mac and Bree. We all frequently feel like we say stuff like that would be a cool movie or things like that. And now we're gonna put some of those ideas to the test. Some of us have come prepared with actual things we think might be a good movie. Some of us are just gonna bullshit along the way. If you're in chat, feel free to write your movie suggestions. You don't have to tell us which of those 2 things it is. We're going to also, just to keep things a little bit visual as well, so it's not just us jabbering on for a few hours, are going to be also designing these movie posters collaboratively as we go along. So it'll be kind of a mismatch, as you can see from this already. We've started expertly for a movie called Volcano Kicks 2. That's definitely coming to a theater.
Much better than the first one.
Mm-hmm. Much better than the first one. Maybe this is a good, interesting place to start. I always think it's really interesting what fake movies exist in universes. Because like frequently, a lot of times, like especially in like cartoons, they'll go to the movies, but it's always like a fake movie.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that I think is my favorite is from Billy and Mandy, where they have a whole series of movies called Exploding Penguin, and then just a very high number, like 34 or something like that. And they always show the movie, and it's always the exact same thing. It's a row of like 6 penguins, and then one of them will explode, and another one will waddle into its place. And it happens like 2 or 3 times throughout the life of the show. And I'm like, I would go see that movie. It seems pretty compelling, to be honest.
A whole different spin on Happy Feet.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I like it. I like that concept.
I think those
Sappy Feet? Is that the going title?
Sappy Feet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. That just tickles me. Do any of you guys have fake movies that you enjoy?
Fake movies?
I mean, I would have said Absent, but Absent is a real motion picture.
It is.
True. It's a feature film.
I guess one that I really like is in Mass Effect. There's this movie called Blasto, where essentially, so in the Mass Effect universe, there's this race of aliens that are essentially sentient jellyfish. And so this movie is based around a like an action hero trope where the star is one of these sentient jellyfish. And I don't know, it's pretty funny because, like, for one, the way that race of aliens talks in the game is they always talk in the third person. Well, I guess kind of in the third person. Like when they refer to themselves, they say this one. And so it just like the lines that they say, basically throughout the game, you can hear like little like trailers and stuff for the Blasto movies. And yeah, like some of the lines that they say are just like really goofy and really funny.
Those jellyfish people sound like me talking to my nephew. That's the same exact speech that I use with them.
Why do you do this?
Because I want to control the narrative of what my uncle name is called.
Mm-hmm. You don't want to be Uncle Stevie.
Yes, that's literally that's it.
Right.
What would the movie Uncle Stevie look like?
That's the real question.
I don't want to explore that
one. Dan, you surely have had multiple ideas for a film.
I would never.
No, never.
I came up with this. I guess this could technically be a movie, but I had this idea for a TV show that I pitched to Mac several times while we were shooting the shit. Where I was trying to come up with, like, I was joking about like how people that actually plan on making movies never write anything with budget in mind. So it's like, so I was like, yeah, so all the characters on this spaceship that is designed to look like an average day living room. And I was like, well, the concept is that they're going on this interdimensional travel that's going to take hundreds of years, but they accidentally ran out of cryogenic liquid, so they all wake up and they're gonna like die on the ship. But since the inside of it, they construct the inside of it to look like a living room, and then they act out a sitcom to try to entertain themselves before they die.
And to keep it like homey, they decide to set up the cameras for the captain's log in like a 3-cam setup for your standard sitcom.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So what you're telling me is these people are on a trip on their favorite rocket ship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Zooming through the stars.
Yeah.
Wait.
Zooming through the sky.
Sky, yeah. Which is wrong, because the sky is the atmosphere.
The concept, I guess, is generally just the good parts of WandaVision and the okay parts of Passengers.
Yeah,
it's
I was
essentially
that's a movie, Passengers. Yeah.
Is it black and white like WandaVision in the first season?
No, it's completely just. I also had a different version where it's a bunch of aliens. Like, this is like thousands of years since humans have existed, and aliens show up on Earth, and the only trace of evidence of human life they find is a screenwriting major's final TV show pilot script. And they think that's what all humans are, so they decide to create it. So they're performing all of these terribly written jokes, but they don't understand human humor. And that's the whole thing. That's the whole idea.
Okay, I think that leads us to a really cool place. What if there was an anthology series and the premise of everything starts off the same, right? Which is, what if an alien lands on Earth and blank is the only thing they find, right? And the whole anthology, every episode is just a different thing. Like, it's shot for shot the exact same thing every single time, of like an alien ship landing, the same ship every time. The same alien gets off board, he leans down, and on the pile of rubble, he picks up blank, right? And that's what you write the whole show about. First one's like a Burger King menu. Second one's like, exactly what you're talking about, like some UCLA film school kids like manuscript, right? The next one's like a cosmopolitan magazine, right? And then that's
a cave painting.
A cave painting, right? Every time it's just like some random artifact of humanity, and that's what the whole episode is. Their recreation of what they think the simulation of humanity must have been like, based off of. So.
These aren't movie ideas. These are serious ideas.
We can write a show. It's fine. A poster's a poster.
There was something I was thinking of the other day that I was like, what if this was what aliens thought humanity was based off of? And I can't. I wish I could remember what it was.
It's 80s rock music. I think about that frequently.
What if? I don't know. What is like a movie that already exists that like only has like aliens in it?
Wait, what?
Only has aliens in it?
Yeah.
Mars needs moms. No.
Because what if aliens came down and they just found a DVD to a movie that didn't have any humans in it and was just our made up aliens, and then they think that's what we were.
What we look like. Yeah, yeah, that is good. Or it could be like they pick up a copy of Earth Girls Are Easy and think that this is a serious documentary on our first contact with aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Or they end up at like a convention, and then they're just like, "Oh, humans are weird," right? Like in that they have like maybe it's like an anime convention, and then they don't understand cosplay, and aliens are like, humans come in weird shapes and sizes, and
they're like their religious customs are baffling. They seem to dress up and represent themselves as all kinds of different gods.
They carry large, blunt objects.
Whoa. Guys, the last episode of this series is where the alien comes to Earth and finds the script for this show.
Yeah.
What would they even do? What is that?
So they just recreate the first episode again, but on
my
even
God.
more meta.
As for the fake movies one, there's the movie in, what is it, Home Alone? I think it's like Black-Hearted Angels or something like that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's the one that he puts on that's way too scary. That has the, get out of here, keep the change, you filthy animal.
Filthy animal. I thought that was just a real movie.
Nah, it's definitely fake.
Yeah, it was shot for the film.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. They wrote a lot of dialogue to have to work around it, so it's probably easier. I feel like a good film always comes from a good title. And never the other way around.
Really?
Just like an improv game.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Or a Jeopardy's category.
This is true. What are you drawing? Is this your alien sitcom?
Well, I think this is a combination of your couch bit, and then I thought maybe other people would add to this couch. Mayhaps not. Hard to say.
Is anybody looking forward to the Oscars?
Yes.
I'm not actively not looking forward to it.
Not on your radar. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I think I might try and keep up on it this year. They have some good ones.
I'm sad Sonic didn't get anything. Everyone's like, I remember before everyone was like, oh yeah, Sonic's definitely gonna get a nomination. Nothing came out. And then I remember looking at it, I was like, oh yeah, enough stuff came out that Sonic's not gonna be on here.
Yeah, true. What's the vision with this poster?
Good question.
Vision. Oh, that's the vision.
Gotta connect your lines.
Now that's the vision.
Didn't it connect? Oh, I did have a real movie script pitch that I wanted in the world.
Fucking Jesus Christ, guys.
Which I'm kind of mad about because they actually ended up making like a fun version of this, but it was bad, so I'm like, you shouldn't have even tried. I for years pitched what eventually would become Happy Town Murders. You know that? I think it was like a Melissa McCarthy movie.
Yeah.
I for years pitched it as like a gritty, very serious Law and Order SVU type show, where I wanted essentially, I wanted it to be kind of this, you didn't know like what the rules of the world were in a way. So there are characters that just are Muppet style puppets, like felt puppets, but it's never addressed. Because see, this is my problem, right? Every time you introduce puppets into a universe, they immediately feel the need to constantly call out that they're puppets, right? No one can ever just let the puppets live in the universe as other beings. They're always calling it out, and then they're like, you know, they're segregating the puppets and that kind of stuff, which is fine if you intend to use it for some kind of actual meaningful metaphor, but most of the time they don't, right? It's just another butt to the joke. And to me, I'm like, no. Have them just exist in the universe and just that's it, right? And now put that situation into a really interesting crime procedural show, and it literally writes itself, right? And my pitch example for this is, right, classic scene in one of those shows. Guy runs down another alley being chased, another guy follows him, guns him down. Let's review 4 possible ways. 1, standard guy, standard human, guns down other human. That's good, gritty drama. Love to see it. 2, guy, human, guns down a puppet. Fucking hysterical. 3, puppet, gun down's a human. Even funnier. Yep. And then lastly, puppet, guns down another puppet. Well, that's just art. So like now, that's, to me, is like, there's no way, and Dan, you always talk about how writers don't write for budgets. I do. You get to double cast everyone.
That's true.
Because you have them, all your actors are doing double time, right? Like, and the thing is, it's gonna be one of those things like in BoJack Horseman, part of the fun of it is you never know when they're introducing someone, if they're gonna come in as an animal or a human. You get that same good bit here too, where they're talking up somebody really tough and you're like, is it gonna be a puppet? Is it gonna be a person? You know, and it's just this fun game of like, ooh, what's it gonna be? And then they walk in and you're like, it was a puppet, of course.
Dom, who do you see as the main characters here? Generally, there's like the one straight guy who's like the cop, you know, they do their job right. And then you have the extra person who either has a gimmick or it is odd in some way.
A loose cannon.
I think I want to keep kind of like keeping kind of the SVU style where like there's the main 2 partner cops, but then all the other cops are also like kind of in the rotation as well, right?
If
so it's a little bit more
like a CSI or
exactly.
NCYS or whatever it's called. NCIS.
What if you took that idea but applied it to like Ocean's 11?
I think the genre could work in a lot of ways. I do. I just think that I want to start with something that feels very human.
I like crime drama.
I just feel like Ocean's 11 already feels too fantastical in a way, right? I could see maybe like a Soprano type thing as well, but I just think crime drama feels like I want it to be set in the grimy streets of New York City, essentially. Yeah, I don't know. But I feel like I've been pitching this for years because I think the mistake people make with puppet media is that they say you're a puppet and you just leave that part out. We know they're a puppet. You don't need to tell us. And I always say, every time I come up with an idea for a show, I always think about season 3, right? Season 3 finale. Because if you can write the season 3 finale, you've got it made. That's really where the magic is. Season 3 is, I think, the only time that it's ever going to crack a little bit, right? And what I mean by that is, there's going to be a ventriloquist murderer, a serial killer in season 3. And no one's ever going to call out the fact that. But what you're going to find out is everyone who is a Muppet, is slightly like derogatory about ventriloquist puppets, but like only in like weird ways where they're gonna be like, all the humans aren't gonna really react to it, but the ventriloquists or all the Muppet characters are gonna be like, fucking puppets, man, they freak me the shit out, right? Like, and that's the closest that line will ever get to being crossed. That's the most self-aware the show ever becomes. But like, because I think if you do this, it really works itself out, right? I don't know. To me, the show literally writes itself. But,
yeah.
I would love to make this show.
And I think though the problem is if I went to go pitch this now, I would have a hard time because they'd be like, oh, that Happy Town Murders or whatever it is failed so miserably at the box office. Like, no, you did it wrong.
Yeah, they did it wrong.
I was so upset when I saw that trailer. I was like, what are you doing?
And Dom, you're thinking like 23-minute, 30-minute show, right? Not like an hour long?
No, I'm thinking like full prestige TV 40 minutes. Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, it needs to be long enough that about 30 minutes into the episode, you forget that they're puppets, right? Because we never address it. So you wouldn't, you get too sucked into it, right?
Right, okay.
You're not I want the stakes to matter.
You're not trying to just create a punchy situation to...
Right, no. We're not writing like this isn't...
Okay.
I'm not writing Psych or Monk where the show is in on the joke. That's not what I want to do at all here. I want to write Law & Order SVU where some of the characters happen to be puppets. I can't express this enough, Max.
All of the writers that are hired on have experience in like CSI and like actual real crime drama writing.
Hard hitting.
They write it out as if it's just played by all human actors.
Chicago PD, right? Full
Except
on.
Then at the last second, you Thanos snap half of those actors out and replace them with puppets.
That is correct. Right.
That would be
that is accurate.
Something that I just thought of that I think would be hilarious is just not telling the writers that they're working on a puppet show.
Yeah, I also think that's valid.
Just having them write their thing and then wait until they figure out, see how long it takes for the writer's room to be like, what the fuck are we writing for?
Well, that's the thing is, I don't want this show to be self-aware because I feel like that's where these types of that's what sets you apart from NBC to like Adult Swim, right? Because think of like Children's Hospital and Adult Swim, right? It's a faux medical drama, but it's self-aware that it's a fake medical drama. No. Commit so hard to the seriousness of it that that's the comedy.
Right.
Like it's far funnier for me to have like the guy running down the alley in my mind than it is for me to write a joke about him being like, oh, I'm running down an alley now.
Right.
Right.
I actually so like you just run into situations where like they go to the morgue and they see like the Muppet autopsy.
Exactly.
That's the thing is like so strange. That's the
thing is like, where was the victim found? They're in the morgue, and the Emmy is just like, we found them underneath a bench in like Central Park. Opens the door, and a Elmo ass looking Muppet comes out on the table. That's fucking hysterical.
Or even if they're like, I'm sorry, there wasn't much left. They went through a wood chipper and they just pull and just scraps of fabric.
Oh. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It would be so funny.
So good. It's so
and then the other thing too is just like, imagine it even in reverse, where it's just like a Muppet is just like you caught me in the middle of the autopsy, and they turn around and their little Muppet hands are covered in blood, right? And they've got full mouth, like, I'll be with you in a second, detectives. And they're just like digging around.
Yeah, I picture like the classic setup of like freaking Elmo behind a counter kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Except the counter is an autopsy table with a body, and there's just a Muppet just going like
exactly. But he's got angry Muppet eyes because his job is hard. And he's like, hey man, I need to talk to you. And then they all go up behind the police station and they're all smoking.
It's fantastic.
And you see the little like wire go up to his mouth. I'm just saying the show writes itself.
Dan doesn't like it.
I think what you're actually pitching is good. how you're describing it is inaccurate.
What is inaccurate, Daniel?
I think with the idea of, you can't say it's basically like we wrote any show and then last minute change it to puppets, because that's none of the jokes you've pitched. The jokes you're pitching, you're taking advantage of having puppets. Narratively, you're not addressing it, but
here's
filmmakingly you are.
But it's a sight. The visuals are sight gag in that they would have to be to accommodate the reality of the situation.
Yeah, the thing is,
but the plot never addresses it in that case.
But those are two different things.
Well, here's the thing, Dan. Everything that we have pitched, that we have described, is stuff that happens in like every single episode of CSI Miami. Like that, it's not like.
But you still have to write it for that. If you're going to pace anything, you have to write it for that.
I get what Dan's saying.
I mean, you're right. That it wouldn't be like we would just hire writers who had no idea what they were writing and then. Right. But I think what we're trying to describe it as is that in terms of dialogue, in terms of like the characters and their interactions with each other in the world and everything, it's completely written as if it were like one of those shows.
Okay, but
satirically,
how much money do we have left in the budget? Because I've been watching a lot of how to make puppet videos on YouTube.
No, Dan, it wouldn't be satirically. That's the thing.
I mean, it technically is.
It is.
It's not written as a satire, but it is in function.
It is technically, but that's what I'm saying, is it's not written satirically.
I mean, it is, just not in the way. Satire. The only satire isn't like Vampire Sucks. Isn't the only type of satire, you know? Like,
I agree with Dan. The reason this show is being written is because it is playing off of the norms of the shows that you've previously listed, which therefore makes it a satire.
Yeah, I think it's mocking.
I'm not saying it's not a satire.
Yeah, I just think it's mocking the medium, but it's not mocking the genre, I don't think, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like, it's an earnest representation to do a good job of the thing that it is. Like, I don't want to write a bad crime procedural. That's not the goal here at all. And I don't want the murders to be outlandish. Like, I want them to be, kind of like your, like, Law and Order type things where it is like, oh, it's a drug ring, or it's The Wire and there's carjackings and people are getting murdered, right? Like that's a serious thing, and I want to.
I mean, you are mocking the genre, though.
I suppose
the end product is. That's the thing. There has to be a very clear line here.
What do you mean? The end product is the only product.
Exactly. Alex, you're trying to say that there's a difference between the show being written and the show being made at the end, but they're all one.
It's not.
Welcome, Scum Puppets.
Hey,
we're talking about a pitch I've had for a long time for a gritty TV show where some of the characters happen to be Muppet-style puppets, but it's never addressed in universe. And it just is a gritty TV show that happens to feature half of the cast as Muppets. Right now we're working on revising our pitch at the same time. So Dan thinks that it...
I have no problem with the idea, but you're talking. It's just what you're saying about doesn't line up with the idea.
Well, is there a world then in the way? Because I don't see how it doesn't line up. But how would you do it then in a way where it does line up? If that makes sense.
I mean, basically, while you're not. It's basically just that you're making a satirical crime drama where the satire is half of the characters are puppets and and everyone is treated like they're exactly the same, and that's it. I mean, that's what the idea basically is.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But it still is specifically written to get those puppet jokes across. Without breaking the narrative awareness of the characters. But as producers and filmmakers of the show, it is made with intentional awareness that half the cast is puppets.
Correct. I think that makes sense from a production standpoint, but I think I disagree that it's a writing thing. I don't want writing to necessarily consider that as the writing. Like, I don't understand how that's...
I'm on Dan's side on this one. I think in order
I can just drop it. It's fine. It doesn't matter.
I'm trying to
really
understand. I'm not
matter.
disagreeing. I just want to understand where, from your brain, because you're obviously far more aware of this whole process than I think anyone else.
So if you want to make the scene like that, where you have the comedy of like the puppet that like has the gloves doing an autopsy, doing that, you still, as you're writing that scene, you're pacing in those comedic beats, even though they're not like punchline jokes in a script. You're still pacing that out through scenes, through episodes, because you don't want to accidentally write a whole episode where there's no joke like that, and then have a joke and then have the next thing filled with a bunch of stuff. Like, you're still pacing out those comedic beats, so you need to write with awareness for that.
I see.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to know what the scene is supposed to do as you are writing it. And if part of what the scene is supposed to do is be funny, not in its text, but in its context, then you still need to take that into account in what you're writing.
Yeah, I see. I think a lot of this in my mind is, I think it's a show that I want to feel strange when you first watch it, and then I almost want it to feel normalized by the time you've watched like the 5th episode, to the point where like those types of scenes are more like the juxtaposition comedy that it raises lessens over time, and then you just have found yourself fully involved in the story of this universe in a way. Like I almost want it to feel less spooky or less comedic as it goes on longer and longer. To the point where if you get 40 minutes into the episode, you're like, well, I really need to know who actually murdered the person, as opposed to what are these puppets going to do next? Kind of,
and that will happen, but that still obviously needs to be considered from all aspects of the show.
Sure, that's fair.
My question way far back was, Dom, who's the main duo?
Well, I think I've been thinking about this. I feel like it makes sense for obviously one of them to be a human and one of them to be a puppet, but I don't know which is which. My gut instinct tells me the puppet is the grizzled one, the one who's been there long enough to like kind of hate the job in a real way. The guy who has connections that maybe he shouldn't have to get places that maybe he shouldn't be able to get to.
Mm-hmm.
And the human is the young buck, because you're going to want that narrative window for the audience. But I could be convinced of other things. I know the police chief, definitely puppet. No, I lied. I think the police chief, definitely human, because I want to watch a human yell at puppets. I think that would be very satisfying. But I do think the higher up in authority you go, the percentage chance of them being a puppet is increased. Like the local judge that they go to all the time, probably a puppet, because I want to watch a human lawyer argue with a puppet judge about the unfairness of the precedent of the case. Like that's the kind of situations that would excite me as a viewer of this show.
What's the title? That's very.
I don't know. I don't want it to have like a fun play on words like puppet kind of thing. I want it to sound like a generic ass show. So like that, like Chicago PD or JAG or NCIS style or Criminal Minds kind of style naming convention, where it's like vague murdery kind of thing.
So not Hand to Trigger?
Hand and Trigger's good. I don't hate that.
Trying to go for a subtle pun.
Yeah. I like that. Right. I could even flirt with something like Dirty Strings or something like that. You know, it's something that you're like, oh, okay. I see what's going on.
Look, guys, all I'm saying is, if we got money in the budget, I know how to make a puppet on the cheap.
Honestly, if we really wanted to make this, I think it would be a YouTube video, and it would just be SVU but with puppets. And then we would just take an episode of SVU and just redo it shot for shot, but half the characters are puppets.
And no strings attached. That's a good one, Tor. That's a good one. Yeah, I think it's definitely doable. It's definitely doable. And the thing is, I've watched other people attempt to do something similar, like homemade style, on YouTube. But where they always fail is they always make it self-aware in some way. And that's the part where I'm like, there was never going to be a case, and this is how you know it, there's never going to be a case of a serial killer who's only targeting puppets, right? Like, that's never going to happen on the show, because if that happens, that's not going to work. It acknowledges they're puppets, right? Yeah, see, Color Me, Happy Time Murders, that's what I'm talking about. The show that movie had such potential, but they ruined it by making the puppets a separate race. And I think that's the mistake that these places are making, right? I don't know. Which I think is part of that Sesame Street tradition, which is ultimately the narrative through line, right? Because even in Sesame Street, even though they're treated relatively human-like, they're still referred to as monsters and things like that. I think that's ultimately just a disservice to the comedic potential that exists in the medium of puppet art form, puppet actors.
What's an example of when this has happened? Do they never address it in like Avenue Q?
They do. There's a whole song about how the intro into Everyone's a Little Bit Racist is they says, Kate, you're a monster. And she goes, right. And he goes, and Trekkie upstairs, he's also a monster, right? He's like, are you two related? What are you saying? That all monsters look alike? And he's like, no. And then they say, well, could I go to your special monster school? And they're like, well, of course not. You're not a monster. And they're like, oh, okay, sorry. But yeah, they do address it in Avenue Q as well. The only time that gets a little fuzzy, and even in Muppets too, is where you have Muppets that are basically people, but they're still made of felt. That's the other time where things get a little bit weird in addressing it. But, yeah.
And then the one who turned into Sheldon Cooper, you know.
True.
Muppet drama.
Am I a Muppet or a man? Or a manly Muppet?
Very manly Muppet or a very Muppety man?
That's a good movie. You should like that.
I did not like that movie.
What? I don't think I liked it very much either.
What movie?
It was
so forgettable.
It is very forgettable. I don't remember anything that happened.
It's one of the Muppet remakes. Except it starred this one character that they made for the movie who is a Muppet person and wants to be on the Muppets, but the Muppets have disbanded. So they need to get the gang back together again because that's the through line of every Muppet movie. And like, is this the one where Fozzie's at a strip club?
Maybe.
Or like he was at a place performing with fake Muppets. Like he was doing his bit with another group who was emulating the Muppets. And it was like rough and gritty versions of all of the other characters, and he was like, "Thank God, get me out of here." That might be a different Muppet movie, but most likely is a different Muppet movie now that I'm thinking about it. But
see, I think Tor brings up the excellent point, which is in Lazy Town, they never call out the fact that puppets, and now it's an iconic piece of media.
They did that in Lazy Town.
It works if you don't address the elephant in the room.
I think they also designed the puppets to look like people.
Well, that's arguable because I've seen the design of those puppets, but
it's arguable, but they're a lot more human than Muppets.
They lack the humanity of Muppets, though. I'll say that.
Yes. That's just because Jim Henson's company is far and away the best puppeteering.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, exactly. Anyways, we spent too much time on Muppet Murder. We just need to come up. Anyone else got any other ideas? Chat, do you have any movie ideas that you would like to pitch to us that we can work through? Or does anyone else in the cast have anything else they've genuinely considered? That's something I've genuinely thought about for years and have pitched multiple times in my lifetime. If I still have my list. I used to have a whole list of those. I could tell you about the anime I came up with. That's something.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you about Open Source Academy? Do you know what that is?
No.
I never told you about this?
No.
I feel like that
No, you did.
Sounds familiar to me.
We've definitely talked about this on stream.
On stream?
I've never heard this.
Long time ago, but I think we have.
All right, so I remember we're gonna take a time travel now, right?
Okay.
Here I was, sitting in AP American History, and our teacher printed out this worksheet and gave it to us. And I was sitting next to this individual named Leah, who I had known for many years, right? And Leah was one of those kids that in middle school got onto anime way before everyone else did in high school. So they were deep in it, right? Would go to the library to read Fruit Basket during middle school recess. They knew what was up. And here we are, we're sitting in, it must have been, I guess, junior year or sophomore year of high school in AP. It's 8 in the morning, and our teacher hands us these printouts, and I was not paying attention. So I start looking at the thing well, where did she get this? Where is it printed out from? And the name of this resource hub was called Open Source Academy. And I just started laughing. And Leah was like, I know, that's the most anime sounding name I've ever heard. And I said, I should make an anime about this. And then guess who didn't pay attention for the next 40 minutes? Because they were figuring out how to make this an anime. So I immediately was perfect. We already know it's set in a high school because it's got academy in the title. How do I incorporate the open source bit? And then I immediately was, at that point in time, I was watching the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX series. So I was excellent. Competitive battling anime set in a high school. It writes itself. And then I was okay, what if every subject was the competition though? Right? So there's in this world, there are high schools where high schools compete essentially in quiz bowl style tournaments, but everyone gets assigned one subject and they just have to become the master for that subject for their school. And these battle squads go, and essentially our character is English, and their best friend Math have just gotten accepted to one of the most prestigious versions of these schools in what is probably Japan. And in the school, they don't. No one is allowed to use their real name. They only use the subject they're responsible for.
That's
so
classic,
it's also a slice of life. It's also a slice of life high school comedy, but is also a competitive outsmarting each other battle anime at the same time. So basically, we follow English and math through the first 3 years of this high school tournament, essentially. And then we then there's a home ec who's kind of the plastics of this world, and then there's physical fitness who's kind of the jock, and then I basically just got bored of writing an actual show and started making pun names for things. And I was in later seasons they're gonna add more and more nuanced topics and genres. At one point there's gonna be a whole engineering thing as you get into higher levels. I still remember I was going to name that character Bridget Rhodes because I thought that was the funniest thing I'd ever heard of. Her name is just Bridge and Rhodes. So Bridget Rhodes. And there was a whole love triangle. And then also the fan service character was going to be foreign language. And then English's younger brother Grammar was gonna have a huge crush on foreign language, and that was a whole side arc.
Wait, so foreign language, all foreign languages is one subject in this?
Yeah, it's brutal.
Oh, geez, that's a tough one.
Yeah, it is. And then art and music are both gonna have a crush on English. And like they're the two characters that are constantly like fighting over someone, but English is never gonna end up with either of them. Because English secretly likes PE, but you know, that's a whole thing. Home ec is there. Yeah, we had like at one point I pitched this idea to a friend in college, and he and I spent like 3 days just like mapping out like love triangles and figuring out what subjects were. It's pretty good. Anyways, that's Open Source Academy. That's my anime that I've been working on for years.
Why is it called Open Source Academy?
Because that was the name of the handout that I received that sparked the whole thing,
yes, but okay, sure. Fuck me, I get it. All right.
Let it go down.
Dan, anime titles don't have to be based off of what's actually happening in the anime. They rarely are.
All right.
I had this idea for an anime when I was working my last job. I was a chemist, and there was this co-op who was working with me, and we would just we would brainstorm about this because we realized that at least I haven't heard of them. They probably is some out there, but like a chemistry or a lab-based anime seems so
that exists.
It does exist. Okay, I'm not that surprised.
It's not like a high school chemistry, but Dr. Stone is a very recent one where all the humans have turned to stone. And
I heard about that. Yeah.
Is
that chemistry though? Because I was told that it has more of an alchemy feel to it, which is like
it might be alchemy. I haven't seen it, but...
Basically, the main tension of the show is between these two characters who are both in the lab, you know, pouring chemicals. It's basically like a non-action battle anime, but they're doing science. Like they're doing chemistry rather than battling, and they're just trying to make the best thing. But then there's like this revealed conflict of like the company that they're working for and the chemical that they're actually making. It would probably be some sort of either cloning serum or super serum, something like that. And then it would have like political element of like they're making it for the government or something like that. You know, probably if I had to say the third season finale. It would probably be that one of the characters become the president of the company
of the chemistry
that
company?
they are. Of the chemical company.
They take over, hostile takeover.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Max, is this gonna become like a shonen battle anime? Like, how does this not devolve into like fake chemistry? Like, because I assume the idea here is to keep it in relatively the real world of chemistry, right?
Yeah.
So is it almost like a MacGyver type thing where they're just like,
we're
in an elevator. I know if I hit the sprinkler and I have this thing that I was carrying to the lab and combine them, we can blow a hole in the door, right?
Absolutely. It's pseudo real chemistry. It's not
pseudo real chemistry.
It's pseudo real chemistry.
There's a
bring things up where you're like
that, I feel like.
Sulfur plus gunpowder will make an explosion, and I know that there's sulfur in this fire extinguisher, so I can actually free myself. By doing all this random stuff.
Yeah, I like them a lot. That's good. I would watch that show. That sounds fine.
That sounds really difficult to write.
Yeah, it sounds way up.
I mean, there's a certain point where you just make shit up and it's fine.
True.
You Google, you go on Wikipedia and you're like, chemical reaction, and as long as you say like 3 like chemistry jargons, people will just believe what you're saying.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around pseudo real chemistry.
Oh yeah.
It's all the time, Dan. It's no different than pseudo real hacking, which is very common, right? Like you just gotta eventually hit a point where you just start to do some hand wavy stuff to move the.
But isn't that just what the word pseudo means?
No, pseudo chemistry would be like alchemy, by being like, if we can combine these elements that should make up a human body and then like do this ritual, then by the power of chemistry they'll turn into a person, which is not how chemistry works.
Right. That feels like a weird semantical difference when the
super-real chemistry is like, I know this thing exists in trace amounts in an apple, but I'm going to pretend for the narrative that it exists in much higher volumes because it sounds really cool to admit that thing's in it, right? Like, it's very different there.
Versus what is the example of not that?
The example of not that is being like, I know that when it rains, there's a 30% chance that lightning will hit this exact spot, causing X chemical reaction that doesn't exist in the real world. Like, it's what I'm describing is you're embellishing things that actually exist versus Tora in the comment mentioned cells at work. perfect example of pseudo-real science, in that most of it is based on how the body actually works, but occasionally they throw in things there that are just more narrative elements than than anything else. As opposed to completely fabricating an entire world where it just doesn't, there's no groundedness in any sense. It's the difference between using the jargon to make meaning and using the jargon because it sounds like a cool vernacular to fit into a piece. Does that make sense? I don't know. Did that make it more complicated?
That made sense.
Yeah, it's like what the Big Bang Theory does to explain science.
Exactly.
They just do some high school jargon and pass it off as breaking science.
Like
I remember,
like the Jimmy Neutron sodium chloride thing.
Sure.
Have you
I
guys?
don't remember that.
I don't remember it either.
So there's this really obnoxious, like if you watch it again, it's really, really annoying. But essentially, they're in this restaurant, and the guy who's working there is like, "Oh, do you want some salt?" And Jimmy is like, "Yeah, I want sodium chloride." And he's like, dude, that's salt." And he's like, "Yeah, that's what I said, sodium chloride." And it's like, all right, well, right there, you just want to punch Jimmy Neutron in the face. Like,
I do remember this actually.
Stop being such a fucking doingus. But
Doingus.
The technical term, Dan.
Someone then like dubbed over it, and they were like, "Actually, Jimmy, sodium chloride is a much more like volatile state in which, and this is like iodized sodium chloride because it's table salt and safe for consumption." And like they went on like this tirade, but as like the guy working,
Right? Yeah.
just like owning Jimmy.
Good.
Yeah, it was very satisfying.
Nice. What
Max, what do you think the name of your anime is?
It's a tough one.
The Crucible.
Oh, you've nailed it. How did you know?
The Scarlet Ladder.
The Scarlet Crucible.
The Scarlet Witch's Letter.
Wanda's Letter.
All right. Good bit. Move on.
If we iterate on this enough, we can come up with a movie title.
It's like 10 clicks to Jesus, but it's verbal.
Trash. Absolutely trash. No, we can think of something. What's a cool? What would be like a cool sciencey name for this anime? I forgot it's
bottled up and ready to blow.
Max, what color hair would you like for your main character? It has to be anything that's not standard.
Of course, yeah. What do you think I am?
Like a green. That feels pretty sciencey, right? Oh, Dr. Stone's hair is green though, right? So we can't do that. That'd be too similar.
It fades into a green. It's
I
like
haven't really
a white.
thought about any character design.
Other than Yu-Gi-Oh hair, I find Dr. Stone's hair the most obnoxious of anime hair.
Maybe like a blue?
Blue is probably right.
Okay.
His hair is the whole background. That's how large their hair is.
Oh, we could definitely do that though. Wait. Yeah. We'll do something like this. Then, yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, yes. Oh, wait. And so you know it's a show. Okay, too much. So you know it's. Oh crap! There's no way I'm gonna be able to do this the way I want to. All right, guess
there you go.
That. No, still no.
Hold on.
Oh,
there we go.
It's hard to. Perfect. Yeah, and just so you know that it's a show about science. Because you gotta communicate that somehow. They have one lightning bolt that runs in their hair, and now he's a scientist.
Yeah.
Oh, that's how we know. Excellent.
And the lightning and the yellow part of his hair slowly fades into a red at the tips, and we include 70 whip cracks in each episode.
God.
I was thinking for a solid minute on how to make a Johnny Test joke. How to incorporate it into the conversation.
The Science Bolt. Yeah, Volatile is actually a pretty good title.
Wait, you gotta.
I don't think that's how those work.
You gotta say it. You gotta say it out loud to see if it works. Like, yo, dude, did you see the new episode of Volatile? Yeah, it works. All right.
I think now this is coming from the person with the least amount of anime experience, but I think that the actual title has like it's way longer.
Yeah, it's really long.
Like it's like volatile reactions between those you love or something like that, but everyone just calls it volatile.
Right.
Or there's something in the actual word that isn't really a thing.
And also you just throw the word no in there for some reason. I guess that's an anime thing.
Oh, that's just the Japanese of it.
Okay, I've just noticed that multiple titles seem to have no volatile.
No volatile sounds like anime though.
It does, yeah.
Oh, and then we're gonna put an upside down exclamation point just for no reason.
It looks like
just like an eye. Okay, you're right. Boom. This poster made itself. Honestly,
Yeah.
that one was easy. Did you guys watch this show?
I guess.
Yeah, I would.
It honestly does sound pretty cool. I kind of dig it.
I don't think I could get hooked on this one.
Discovery Channel. We've made it anime. You're the perfect vehicles to carry it. Now is your chance.
Discovery Channel. Listen to me. You know it. We know it. Everyone knows it. You are no longer an actual science channel. You're
Hold on.
Real science channel.
Max, that's not how you have to approach the CEOs of Discovery Channel. Hey, Discovery Channel, founders of the 90 Day Fiancé cinematic universe and developers of Discovery Plus, we have a new action anime for your content library.
Imagine you go to like, oh, they have anime, and you click it, and it's just no volatile. Like that's the only show in the entire, and you hit like refresh, and it just goes away, and then you're like, okay, and you search anime, and it's the only title that pops up. Well, I actually think Open Source Academy would fit very nicely along this education-based.
Yeah.
And
what
then
if
they
it's a spin-off show? What if science originally was on Open Source and then they went full Frasier and got their own show called No Volatile?
Whoa!
It's all part of the same universe.
Wow.
Damn.
Wow.
And like No Volatile exists in like what happens after they graduate and like they now have like real world jobs.
Or it all takes place over the course of like summer internship, and it's just like Phineas and Ferb logic where it goes on too long.
I think that's probably what we would. I haven't thought really about the character design, but I think you probably want one of them to be like 16-year-old.
Of course.
I thought you were going to say, I think you'd want one of them to be like a puppet.
The scientist isn't a white male. If you ever look at anime, it's very hard to determine their origin a lot of the times. They're made to in this kind of chibi non-human style for it, so it reads as white to Western audiences, but it also reads as Asian to Asian audiences. Also, this is a featureless face, so I stand by my choice.
And also, in anime, you never truly know a character's gender.
It's true. I'm sure that'll be a running joke in the series, that the character has features that don't align to anything that we typically associate with everything they are. I feel like it's a common trope I've seen.
They're just non-binary, so you never know. Like the show never confirms it for you.
Yeah, there are so many cool like anime moment push glasses jokes about it though, where someone was just like, "Oh, something happens," and they're like, "Well, that's a binary equation, unlike me," and then they like push up the glasses, and you're like, "Whoa, what a slam dunk!"
Oy.
That'd be sick. That'd be good representation. Damn, cool stuff. Anyone else got any other pitches?
Yeah, what other?
Any other flowing ideas?
flowing ideas from the wellspring of the mind.
Why haven't they ever explored the idea that we find active volcanoes on the moon?
Explain, Dan.
All right, look. They already have all those craters in there. What if we, in the future, we all go to the moon, we're all living there, and then we find out they're volcanoes, and the moon is getting flooded by lava.
So I googled it. The moon has been volcanically active throughout much of its history, with the first active volcano eruptions having occurred 4.2 billion years ago. Today, the moon unfortunately has no active volcanoes, even though a significant amount of magma may persist under the lunar surface.
Exactly. So dormant volcanoes start erupting once fucking Elon Musk puts his little moon boat down, and then shit happens.
So you're talking, is this movie like a 2012 disaster type movie, but it's man has colonized the moon and now things are like just setting up and all of a sudden, volcanoes are back?
I think it's like sort of like a Wolf of Wall Street, but if your business was on the moon.
Sorry, say that again. That was not the film reference I was expecting to come out.
So it's like the main character is like this capitalist, like egotistical man who runs their business on the moon and is like monopolizing the moon, and their whole business starts to crumble and their life falls apart as volcanoes start to become active on the moon and destroy their business.
So who are we rooting for in this?
The lava.
So it is purely a disaster film.
Oh, good.
We don't necessarily have to do it from that perspective. That was just the first one I thought, which probably isn't the best.
Well, this is your pitch, Dan. Let's hear it. I'm willing to hear it out before we.
I'm just saying, moon volcanoes. The fact that they are real and no one has touched on it is bonkers to me.
That is true.
Well, they're no longer active. Is the thing.
Yeah, but the fact that they were there, like, come on.
It's just asking to be having.
There's a movie coming out where a giant monkey fights Bowser. Like, we can.
And it's gonna be amazing.
No one thought about the moon volcano.
Look, I don't know why I said look like I'm about to just dunk on you. And I've got a completely separate point that I was about to talk about. So fun fact, in high school, my physics teacher liked to go on little random anecdote tangents, where he'd just like say something semi-unrelated and then move on. And he talked about how Mars is kind of the same way, where it's not, it doesn't have an active core like the Earth does, which results in volcanoes and that kind of thing. Like, it does have a semi-molten core, but it's a lot cooler and more deep than the Earth is. And scientists calculated how many nukes it would take to restart the core of Mars, and it would rip it to shreds.
How many was it? Like 6?
I don't remember the number, but it was enough nukes to shred the planet down.
Whenever scientists are trying to figure out how many nukes till X happens, you know they're not doing something useful, right?
Not doing something useful.
Like that shouldn't be something that they need to question or figure out, you know?
Well, right, that shouldn't be a government-funded grant project.
So it was just a mathematical equation. It wasn't like, it was probably just somebody was bored on their afternoon, and that.
Steve, don't defend scientists.
No. I am actually defending this point because part of the reason Earth is livable, I believe, is the warm core of the Earth.
Yeah, absolutely.
And because Mars doesn't have that, it would be a lot harder to terraform and make hospitable.
All right, so if we're going off of the title of Moonboat, it's not the idea I said, because that does not work for that idea. But the real idea for what the movie Moonboat is so something's going on with whatever, the orbits of the planets or whatever, and Earth is moving towards the sun at a fast rate. Like the sun eating the Earth is gonna happen in like fucking like 12 days, right? But they found out that the weird trajectory of the moon, since it's orbiting the Earth, as it gets closer, it's actually gonna get shot off and not go into the sun. So they move everyone to the moon, and then the moon gets shot off, but then they're just floating off into space, right? And they use it as a moon boat through the universe.
I shit you not. I think there's a Doctor Who episode about that.
Fucking hell.
I was like, wait, I feel like I've seen this before.
God damn it.
I'm pretty sure there's a Doctor Who episode. It doesn't take place on Earth, but it is that same idea of like a planet is collapsing and we're gonna use the moon trajectory to like.
Fuck. Damn it.
Sorry.
Well, I haven't seen it, so it's still my idea.
Yeah.
But that's what Moonboat would be. Either that or...
I think Moonboat could be a capitalist warning as well about volcano moons.
Yeah.
I don't see why those things are...
I guess that's true. The only other idea I have is like... has anyone seen the movie Stuart Little?
I'm familiar.
You know
yes.
how they have you know how they have that like competition at the end where they're racing the boats on the water?
Yeah.
So
I think
it's
that's
like
the
one
only
of
part I remember.
it's like one of those races, and it's like a weird like 1980s like nostalgia movie. But a kid has to build a boat on Earth, and like, but then like an asteroid lands next to his home, and it's from the moon, and he uses the moon rock to make a boat and wins the boat tournament with his moon boat.
Interesting.
Those are my 3 ideas for Moonboat.
I mean, it could be like a Victorian, like around the world in 80 days style thing. I think that's kind of what you were pitching with the last one, unless I'm way off.
No, I was pitching Stuart Little, but the boat is made out of moon at the end.
Have you seen the webcomic that was going around recently? I think it's older, but it's like, it's set in an orphanage, and it's all these like sad orphans, and there's like 2 full adults, and it's like, I'll take that one, and it's like an ugly looking rat, and it's like, this is the plot of Stuart Little. I'll post it in the Discord if I find it.
Good.
I haven't seen that comic, but I have seen like a tweet or something that was like, imagine being the orphan kid who they chose Stuart Little over you.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so Moonboat with my original idea, right? So there's this capitalist douchebag who's basically monopolizing the moon. And there's a few little cul-de-sacs of people that live on the moon. But they pretty much everyone that lives on the moon, because they're so cut off, basically has to work for this company because they have all the resources. So then once the stuff starts erupting, the capitalist guy originally is trying to figure out how to stop it to save his company, but then like some like not like peasant, but just some regular person that lives on the moon, right? Is there, and they sort of like team up, and the capitalist person learns that he should be trying to save everyone to save the people, and by the end there's like a choice where it's like, you know, it's like Mary Jane or the bus, but in this case it's like his company or all the humans on the moon. And he saved all the people, and you know.
Wow, you learned.
Yeah, I don't know why that was my first analogy of like this or the other. Is definitely Spider-Man.
I don't know.
Probably just because I saw it behind Alex. That's probably definitely it. But that's
Spider-Man
besides
be
the
here?
point. But that's what it would be, and that would be Moonboat.
That's a good. I'm on board for Moonboat. It gets my funding. I'll tell you how much.
Yeah,
Not as much as No Volatile, but Moonboat's it's up there for sure.
I'd back that on Kickstarter.
Can you fund movies on Kickstarter?
Yeah.
You can do like web series and stuff.
Well, people will put like funding for personal projects and stuff up on Kickstarter.
It's true.
Yeah.
A lot of people
Role made several $1 million on Kickstarter.
A lot of people will put Kickstarter campaigns to fund a pilot that they would then take to like producers to try to get funded, which is like, I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah.
that is the way to do it.
Yeah.
Like, there's no other way to really do it, unfortunately.
Yeah,
But the thing is
that will
that-
also generate excitement, so you can go to the producers and say, hey, look, there's already this group of people that's really excited about it. We put this in front of a larger audience, then potentially we could get good viewership.
Aren't they just gonna have to reshoot the pilot anyways?
Yeah, but you
Usually,
have to pitch the show to something.
It's a lot easier to pitch when you have something to show.
Yeah.
It's all concept is the other.
That's usually
It's why
what
animators
happens.
will spend like 3 years animating their own pilot and then go, even though it's like 30, like maybe 4 minutes long, and then go show it to someone, because it's a lot easier for a fat cat to be like, oh, I get it now, when they can see it, than if you go there with like just storyboards. They're like, I don't know, the pictures don't move. How can we know if it's good?
What it look like?
Haven't you
How do I
ever-
know this is really an animated TV show? Those are just pictures.
That's 3 trifold board. This isn't a science fair. Get out of here.
Honestly, Max, a lot of the times for live action
Music
stuff,
control.
or at least they used to, they some of the times they wouldn't refilm the first episode, and it just looks so much worse.
Yeah.
So when it comes out, it is just that pilot that they filmed for it, and then you see the production value jump way up in the second episode.
Right.
Did you ever
Yeah.
see the original pilot for Full House before they had cast Bob Saget as Danny?
No.
So that's like a whole thing. There's a much better YouTube video on it that I could probably find. But essentially, there was this like stand-up comedian who they cast in the role before they cast Bob Saget, and they were still kind of on the edge about whether or not they were going to cast this guy or Bob, because they were trying to get Bob Saget, but they needed to lock down filming with everyone in the show. So thank you, Raspberry. Much
Thanks,
appreciated.
Hey,
Raspberry.
Yeah,
Raz.
buongiorno.
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 He speaks the second most Italian. I don't speak Italian, like I said, second most. Anyway, that's a great movie. Anyways, so they cast this guy. They filmed the entire thing, like the entire pilot. And this guy was just a horrible actor. Like, really good comedian, just not built for. He'd never done any acting before. And then it's weird because that episode is the pilot episode, except they, again, like 2 days later, reshot the entire thing with Bob Saget, and it's clearly way better. Like, he was the right choice. But it's cool because you can watch them, and everything, even down to the wardrobe, is exactly the same. It's like a complete shot for shot of the first pilot,
Wow.
but it's just not
It's
Bob
just
Saget.
weird alternate universe.
It
where
is. It's
not
this
Bob
weird
Saget.
alternate universe where this guy is in it instead of Bob Saget. It's crazy.
Yeah,
That's funny.
that's funny.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Adventure Time was like that. It had like a really low budget pilot. That also like the characters like aren't really the same or anything, but it like the concept is there.
Well, the first one the like slumber party short from years prior? Isn't that what they were using as the pilot for a long time?
I just remember
I don't know
watching an
about that.
episode that was like Princess Bubblegum like actually gets stolen away as though she were like Princess Peach or something, and then they just like were like, oh, we actually don't want to do this for the series. And
Well,
that never happened.
the two different things is like a pilot, which functionally is an episode, and then there's like proof of concepts, which are usually like bite-sized versions of the thing, which might be like if you were gonna just do a proof of concept for something, you would do like a 3 or 4 minute thing. And sometimes you do that to then maybe never do the other thing, but you know.
Right.
Well, yeah, actually, I was about to bring up the pilot of Family Guy, but I realized this is probably more of a proof of concept for Family Guy, was like an elderly man and his dog. So Peter and Brian Griffin were the first two characters in
Oh
that series.
yeah.
Yep. Classic.
Anyways, I posted the video I watched on the alternate Danny Tanner. It's weird. They even start like with the theme song, and he's just because they shot a lot of the theme song too, and he's just not in it. It's crazy. But yeah, it's in our Discord. Go check that out if you're interested in
Wild.
seeing that whole history.
Did they
It's pretty long video.
reshoot all of it, or just? I'm assuming they just reshot the scenes with his character in it, and then just cut it back into what they had, right?
I mean, I don't remember the pilot episode very well, but I have to imagine Danny was the main character effectively for the first season of the show. Like,
yeah.
he was in most of the episodes.
Yeah, but I think if anything, I mean, if they still have it where there is still like the two uncles and the three daughters, like he's probably not in like 40% of the scenes or 30.
I think in the middle he's not in it because the whole point is that he goes away to like a work thing and he comes back. And then they like, and then on the brief check-in I just saw from there is I think it's the one where Stephanie moves her bed out of DJ moves her bed out of the house and like runs away. And so I think that's the plot of it, but I don't know. It seems, I don't know. Watch it. It's very good. I did remember, I saw somebody post about the fact that, oh, that's a very different poster now, isn't it? I almost like this better, honestly. Maybe we didn't need everything else. It was overkill, but JLD said that like they saw someone fund a Kickstarter musical. I remember that I also have a pitch for a musical that I would like to be made, if you would like to get into this.
Oh.
This is what I know I've said before, but I think we're right in a time now which is interesting, which is movie adaptations of musicals are bad, but in this weird alternate timeline that is actually our current timeline, musical adaptations of movies are actually quite good right now, which is why I think the market is ripe for an adaptation that's maybe a little bit more experimental than that even. I think there needs to be a Portal musical. Portal the video game as a musical, I think would be excellent. I think that the music soundtrack of it would have such a mood and would look so cool. It would be so easy, I think, to theater trick so many of the Portal like mechanics. Obviously you're going to need like triplets or something to play the main character, but that's not hard to find, or at least 3 people with like convincing enough wig that you can hide it well enough. Because from there I just think it's such an easy mechanic of just like creating essentially double sets where essentially you have like a reveal set and then there's like a portal effect, and then it comes up practically. I think that's an easy enough thing to pull off. And then you just have someone like pop up on the back row, and then like they go in and they pop up.
Right.
He's basically Spider-Man After Dark, but you don't need any of the wire shit. You just need to double cast it prestige style. Spoilers for that movie. And too late.
It came out 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's fine. And then just do audience games like that, essentially.
Yeah.
And you don't even need to cut anyone's hand off. Also, spoilers for that movie.
Because it has the red and the orange and the blue light, and I feel like that would look so good on stage too. It would also draw the eye to be able to like trick you better of like the person going through the light.
What's the plot of this musical?
Yeah, so I think that that is a point I haven't had to figure out yet, because I know Portal relatively thin on plot as a game, which is why I think it's actually more advantageous to adapt, because I'm not going to be held to any kind of bullshit standard for it, right? Basically, the only thing I've actually worked out is the opening number and the closing number, which is the same song, which I think should be still alive. Which mostly because I'm just a big Jonathan Colton fan. Oh yeah, also I want Jonathan Colton to write this musical.
I was gonna say, is this a jukebox?
That's a personal. No, it's not a jukebox musical because his stuff doesn't. The only songs he's only written the last 2 songs, the 2 end credit songs for Portal 1 and Portal 2. All the other music is just like other people and stuff. But anyways, the way I see it is the opening thing. I imagine it's like a 3-tiered stage. Okay. And the opening song is Still Alive, except it's done it's like, I don't know what the term for it is, but it's done in a way essentially where the verses are just kind of being thrown between people. So there's three things. There's on like the lowest level, there's a tour guide who's giving a tour of the facilities. And then it's so that's like the one part of the song. The second part is there's like the boss whose name I don't remember. It's like Lemon Johnson or something like that.
Cave Johnson. He's
Lemon in like I don't know. He talks about lemons, right? That's a whole big deal of his.
Yeah.
So he's on the top, right, and he's singing one of the parts, and then the lead scientist working on the portal gun is singing the other part. And there's all these lines, and what's cool is the song repeats itself in interesting ways, but how you inflect the lyric can really change the meaning of the initial song. I'm gonna pull up the lyrics to it so I can really do it justice.
Who's doing this? I hate this.
I think it's inspired.
How poor the musical.
I think maybe we can tweak it a little bit, but I love the concept.
If you know, you know, you know.
And if you don't, fuck off.
So it starts off right with Cave, and it's him, and he's got like a big, fat cigar, and he's in his like office on like the top floor, and the science is in the middle, and then like the ground of like what essentially is the facilities. Also, the main character is going to be in the tour group of facilities. That's going to be part of it. And essentially, right, so he's got like, you've got Cave, who's like, this was a triumph. So it starts off with the scientist, and he's like, this was a triumph, I'm making a note here, and then it like cuts, like spotlight cuts, they go to like that huge success, it's hard to overstate my satisfaction. That one blacks out, and the first 3 lines are like hard blackouts, and then after that is that soft blackout where you can still see people working, but like it's not focused on them. Then it cuts to the lower spotlight, there's unnamed character who's just like giving a tour, and she's just like, aperture science, we do what we must because we can. Cuts to scientist, for the good of all of us. Cuts to Cave, except the ones who are dead. And then it just like cuts back and forth, and it's so good. And then when it gets to like the refrain of the song, they're all singing it in unison, but they all have their different tonal inflections, which really creates this really cool, like kind of like, oh, there's a lot of like things that play here, and it's kind of uneasy, which is the move and the atmosphere of the games, right? Where you like kind of feel like you're being played with, and now you know why, because there's so many things happening. I don't know. I think it'd be cool. And this whole thing happens, and then we'll do that classic, like, the whole facility goes into lockdown, things get really fucked up, there's a blackout, and then Spotlight opens, and it's one of the characters who was in the tour, except now they're in an orange jumpsuit, and they wake up on the floor, and they're like, what? And they are like, what is happening? And then it gets, but imagine you have this big, like, lively number, and then it just, like, hard cuts, and now it's, like, eerily silent. And it's just, like, you just hear, like, servers, like, whizzing, and, like, gears, like, kind of slowly turning, and the curtain's, like, and it's, like, anyways, that's my pitch.
What is the plot of this musical, Dom?
If you want another angle at the plot, we could do something like a, a la Wicked, where it's about GLaDOS, and she's like, hey, I really was a good character, but they asked so much of me, and this is my downfall. It's like a, that kind of style.
I don't know how familiar you guys are with the plot, but she does have a whole backstory that's kind of similar to that already. Basically, GLaDOS was Cave Johnson's like head secretary assistant girl.
Or maybe in this case, the tour guide.
And then they like were experimenting with like putting like transferring human consciousness into artificial intelligence or something like that, and they put her into GLaDOS, and she became like the whole Aperture facility and stuff. It's like, it's a pretty tragic story already, so you could definitely make a musical out of it.
I didn't know about that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely think there's going to be some time skip elements in this show, right? I do think there's going to be like kind of a present story and a past story happening at the same time, and then probably without really. It is tough to do on stage. I think you can get away with it. I think you could do it, because I think the set design is going to be so dramatic between the two that you could probably.
Are there musicals that do that?
That have alternate.
Or I guess even stage
flashbacks and stuff. Yeah, of course.
A singular flashback is different than like two stories moving at the same time.
Yeah, well, I guess audiences are trained to handle that kind of thing now. Like, audiences can handle that. Well, as long as the lighting design is going to do most of that work for you, right? like that's really what's going to be able to set that kind of scene for the audience to understand where things are. And honestly, even if they don't necessarily understand it's two different timelines, when eventually something comes to a head that makes them realize that, that's a really satisfying moment for an audience member too, right? Yeah. If right before the mid-act finale, or the finale, or no, the intermission, I should say, there's a moment where you do some really cool stage play where maybe now whoever our main character is in the same room at like things are happening, but the stage is split, and then there's like a moment of crossover. Like that's a really powerful theater moment too, where you're like, ooh, this wouldn't have really been like possible in other mediums. Ha ha ha! Live art. I don't know.
Not
that's
possible in other
discussion about theater.
I like it. I love it.
I think it's ripe. I think the music would be really like kind of like synthy and like good. Dan, we'll find a plot. That's the easy part of an adaptation.
I mean,
there's no season 3.
If you go for the plot of like GLaDOS's origin story, then you've got a really solid plot structure there.
Yeah. There's not going to be much portal gunning though if you do that, right?
There will be. I think that's going to like outline what's happening. So you have this like story that's happening, and it's broken up by beats of music / cool practical effects.
Yeah, especially if you're doing the thing that Dom was kind of saying, where you're going back and forth, then like time skipping back and forth, then you could do all of similar to what the game does, where essentially you do all of the sort of portal stuff in the present time, but then every once in a while that main character will discover some bit of information, and then it'll cut to like a flashback, and you'll get to actually see more.
Right. What's the present plot line though? I think that's what it's missing.
Escape Aperture?
I think it's Escape Aperture, and then
one person
hopefully
with a portal gun escaping Aperture.
That's what the plot of both of the games are.
That's not going to work for a musical, but that's besides the point.
Well, also we're gonna there's gonna be moments for other interactions, right? Like, it's a musical. We're gonna have some comedy in it. So I think there's that like dark villain comedy that you get from GLaDOS, who's gonna be like, I imagine GLaDOS in this is similar. We'll give them a physical person. It's not gonna be doing voiceover the whole time. I think it's gonna be kind of similar to what's that show that sucks? Yeah, it's gonna be like Be Chill.
Wait, that's not the name. Wait,
Be More Chill.
Be More Chill. I'm missing something.
Where it's like a physical app. Like, I imagine it's like just a real, like, almost like Wicked style, like gown, except it's like got chrome colors and stuff like that, and maybe like the actual dress has like a big red circle in the middle of it, something like that. And they're just gonna be kind of like up in the upper part of the stage, like villain raftering the whole time. But also in the second game, they introduced these 2 robots that are like essentially just any classic like Timon and Pumbaa-esque character, and they're definitely gonna be in there at some point as well. Hanging around.
I
also,
think
a companion cube's gonna come to life.
Yes,
and have a song like
course. You could have a the dance number, the signature like dance breakaway could be with all different cores.
Yeah.
Cores are like the little personality spheres.
The turrets.
Oh yeah, you gotta have a tap number with the turrets.
Tap number, exactly. But it's the turrets opening and closing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's almost like Stomp. Oh, if you built like a false wall set and you had people who could just like pop out like, oh, that would be so sick. And then you do that theater thing where you angle it in really steep so it looks really deep, like it's a room, and you line that with mirrors so it looks like a full ass chamber.
Yes,
that would be such sick set design.
Somebody give us $2 billion to make this show.
Because the thing is, I think the reason it works so well is because the past story is the story heavy part of it, but the way that it's cut keeps the pacing up, because the present story is where basically all of the action happens with the portal gun. So even while the musical numbers are going, it still takes the premise that it is the character trying to break out of Aperture. So they're still doing portal gun mechanics while like the turret tap gun song is going on. So you're still teaching the audience the mechanic of the portal gun while you're doing the song. The song can, be relevant to what's going on stage and in the story at the current
There's
point.
definitely a song early on where we first get the portal gun, and it's like the main character is singing and it's like, how, what does this do? And then there's that moment where the music stops and you just hear a drum hit, and suddenly a portal appears and you're like, what? And then there's a really cool thing where they look through it and they stick their head in, and a character on the other side of the stage sticks their head out, and there's just a what the heck? And then you're just thump, thump, and then every time the drum hits, just another portal appears, and then there's a shot. Oh, there's a really cool scene where they just put the gun out in the audience and goes like this, and then all around the back of the stage, portals pop up and it goes poof, 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 all around. Oh, and so you're in the audience and you have to look and you're like, what's happening? This is so cool. And also, Dan, I can see your hesitation with the plot. I think that you got to speak to your audience. It's palpable. I think that it's not like they're going to feel disjointed between the two, because the things that are happening in the present are going to tee up the flashbacks for the past, right? So it's going to be a lot of our main character finding a piece of writing on the wall or something and being like, what? And then we see the explanation for that, and then meanwhile they're progressing in their own plot timeline. Anyways, this is my portal pitch.
Yeah, let's make it happen.
I think this is the most viable of all the options. Well, I think the puppet murder one is also incredibly viable.
Yeah.
But
the two that Dan had the most reservations with.
That's how I know they're good.
I do think this is definitely the more of what Dan was talking about at the beginning of the stream, with film students not thinking of their budget when they pitch something.
Yeah, no, this is an expensive ass musical.
This is budget.
Someone's gonna die. It's inevitable, but this is the one I think genuinely has good merit, and I could see people being into. The only problem from a financial standpoint is this is an impossible musical to do at a high school level, and that's what the retirement home of all musicals. So it wouldn't exist in a community theater high school setting. It's just one of those shows that exists, runs for 3 years, and dies. But if you get lucky enough, you could just hit it like the Lion King musical did, and then you don't need to worry about being in high school. Exactly. I don't know if Portal is as relatable or nostalgic as full Lion King, but we'll try.
I don't know.
Portal, theater fans are notoriously gamers.
I mean, here's the thing, nostalgia is certainly a factor with it, but at the same time, the visuals are part of the reason why it's still so popular, and everyone loves it so much.
And Lion King has also had a high school and junior release, so they are selling.
Yeah, you could do it. It wouldn't have nearly the stagecraft effect, which I think is genuinely 60% of the appeal of the show. But
kind of the whole thing.
Yeah, you have to have a good costume director for that show. I was a camp counselor when we did that for our community theater. It was pretty good because we had a professional level costume designer. It was very good for children's theater camp. It wasn't amazing, but it was very good for children's theater camp. Pretty good for a high school show. Not a professional show, but
well, I'm sure you could botch together some kind of janky ass version of this Portal musical for high school audiences too.
Yeah, you could make it work.
It's really just a shame that the poster is such trash.
Somebody put Hamilton in the middle of it. It's what is that letter? Still alive.
Question mark?
Anyways, I don't know about any of the other songs in this show, the plot, or any of that stuff, but I got the opening number on lock. I do think, though, that the final number of the show will be a refrain of this song, but slowed down incredibly slow.
Yeah.
And the tempo will build up as we get closer and closer to the curtain, essentially. When GLaDOS kicks back online in Imagine it starts off as kind of like defeated GLaDOS, and then just like slowly repairs. There's a whole scene where maybe she gets stronger, like she's like self-repairing, and she does like that cool costume thing they do, where like her big costume comes off, and underneath is an even bigger and sparklier version of the costume, and that's when the curtain like essentially like almost queuing up like the second game.
So like while she's hitting the final high note, she like tears off the old now broken costume or whatever, and it just like explodes into this new one.
Yeah, well, or I imagine like a bunch of like the little like crawly robots will come in and just start to like, and she's just like slowly like repairing herself. For the people who are still alive, and then neck snaps, and then costume comes off, and the curtain falls, and everyone's like, ah! We need more wine! We gotta buy a playbill! Things like that.
We gotta buy a playbill.
Like the fancy ones, not the ones that give you for free.
Yeah.
The human-sized playbill.
Human-sized playbills. For the humans who are still alive.
Life-size playbills.
After life-sized playbills.
Does chat have any ideas? I think we can make one more poster.
Anybody want to pitch something that's going to get shot down by Dan?
I did not shoot down your first idea. And I just pointed out that you don't have an idea other than an aesthetic for the Portal one. That's all I'm saying.
We have too many ideas for the Portal one.
I think it writes itself. And it doesn't even have
You're basing it off of a video game that most of the musical audience is not familiar with, that doesn't have much of a plot.
I see that as an advantage, not a disadvantage. That's an opportunity.
Then you still have to make it. You can't say it writes itself when you don't have something that writes itself.
Well,
pick
the
a
only
side.
threat on my SWOT analysis is Dan's attitude. I'm saying that right now.
I think this could be a fun. Oh, fun might not be the best word for what I'm about to describe, but it might be an interesting look at like. So Tor said something along the line of don't let the audience know that it's GLaDOS. And in my head, while you guys were talking, I had this idea of what, like, after the tour, lights go down on opening number, and then it comes up to this person, this female in the jumpsuit in an empty room. Mm-hmm. And you follow that person throughout their story, and you think it's Shell the whole time, or Chell, I don't remember how to pronounce it. I didn't play Portal. Only to find out that it's GLaDOS and the story of GLaDOS slowly losing her humanity and taking on more and more robotic aspects to herself until eventually it's just this large, like, puppet almost of the robot GLaDOS on stage. And my proposed ending would be it would definitely have to be written well, but it would potentially be a lot sadder, where you see like Shell rip out the fight GLaDOS, and then the ending goes to this really soft note with Still Alive as the puppet like shrinks down and collapses, and you wait there for like the applause, and then the light on the eye comes back and it closes.
That almost does. So yeah, I think that could be interesting. I almost wonder if you could do a thing where it's like you think the whole time that it is I'm just gonna say Shell for simplicity. You think it is Shell the whole time because you, as a Portal, people who know Portal, that's what they're expecting, right? And then you do find out that it is just like there was like an artificial GLaDOS, but it wasn't quite that. And then this person becomes the new GLaDOS, like they get absorbed and uploaded into it. And then the show ends with almost an exact replica shot of what we thought was Shell at the beginning, except this time it actually is Shell waking up. So the curtain, like, that's when it like spotlight drops down and you're like, wait, this is a different person. who's also waking up in an orange jumpsuit, and it's this whole like, oh, it's gonna happen again, is it, isn't it? And that's where you leave it to the people who know the games know that it isn't the case. The people who aren't familiar, they're like, oh, well, what's gonna happen here, kind of thing. But that almost really does make it sound kind of like this is Wicked, but it's Portal instead, which I don't think is bad. I don't think it's a bad thing, but it does kind of have like a Wicked Portal Pippin vibe to the whole thing, which I think sounds incredibly fun.
Yeah.
Also, you can have the fun scene of demonstrating the portal with human GLaDOS. And they're like, here, stick your arm through. And she does, and then the portal closes, and they throw a prop arm down on the stage.
Oh, brutal.
And they slowly replace her with robot parts, leading to the eventual full robotification of GLaDOS.
Certainly an angle to consider.
So also, it's easier to pitch too, because you just say, we want to make Wicked, but with the very popular hit game Portal.
Yes.
There you go. That's a good pitch. I looked it up. The name of the girl who becomes GLaDOS, her name was Carolyn. So it would be centered around Carolyn, essentially, and her story.
So you call them Subject C.
What?
You call them Subject C. They both have the same first letter of their name.
Subject C. I like it. I dig it.
Well,
it's a good time.
Well, Dan, do you have anything you would like to pitch?
Moonboat.
Yeah, let's tear apart one of Dan's ideas.
The sound. That's all I got.
Let's do it. JMLD has pitched Boogie, but it's a play, not a music.
Oh God.
That's just I imagine if there was a Boogie movie, it would just be what is the name of that movie?
Boogie Nights?
No, I imagine if it was a Boogie movie, it would just be Saturday Night Fever, verbatim. Except instead of John Travolta, maybe still John Travolta, but in a Boogie costume. Because I think that's what Boogie's more or less wearing on the cover, right?
Yeah,
he's wearing
that
like
iconic
an
like
Elvis
white.
suit.
Yeah.
I think it's the Saturday Night one though, unless it is specifically Elvis. But
I think they're probably both referencing Elvis in some capacity.
yeah, it's probably
Even if
accurate.
it is referencing the movie you were talking about.
Yeah,
I think the movie was referencing Elvis because it looks like a very Elvis-y.
it does.
Like it's
It
just
does.
a white, bedazzled, like very like
Deep V-neck.
yeah.
Deep V.
Hey, I do like this one. What about Boba's living in a milk teacup, wanting to escape the outside world? Now the question is this an earnest film? Is this like a direct-to-DVD kids movie? Is it like Sausage Party? Like what tonally are we thinking?
We're going for like a rat-tat-toying kind of vibe.
I don't know. I was getting a different kind of Veggietales.
Oh.
It's Veggietales, but
Veggietales.
Now that is an idea I can get behind. It's Veggietales, but they just talk about like Nietzsche instead of,
that's just
the Ark of
oh
the
my
Covenant.
god. Fuck, I hate that I just came up with this. But it is just a spin-off series called Pickle Rick.
God damn it.
I think it should be Fruity Fables, and it should be a bunch of moral stories about some fruit that is completely like asecular.
Everyone delete your shit. I want to draw stuff now.
so it's what? It's like the Brothers Grimm tales, but with vegetables instead.
The Brothers
Fruit.
Grimm version of VeggieTales.
I think it's like it's just like morals you want to teach kids, but just from the perspective of just, we're people and should
a
just be
humanist
nice.
perspective.
Yeah,
even though it's secular humanism as taught by sentient fruit.
Yeah.
Fruit fables. Let's do it.
God, now I'm just imagining somebody being like, "Oh, what's your favorite book in the Bible?" I mean, I like the original Brothers Grimm version. None of this new Disney shit.
So who are the
This
two
New Testament garbage.
the two main characters almost have to be like apple and banana, right?
No, one of them is still a tomato. Because that's the most atheist thing I can think of.
Hit him with that technicality. Yeah, that's
just being technically correct.
Well, and that's how the character talks. He still talks like Bob the Tomato. He's just like, well, actually, it's important that we consider the morality of the situation.
All right, so with the tomato, maybe instead of a banana, it's like a papaya.
Well, the answer is, what is the fruit version of a cucumber, essentially?
Probably a banana.
Yeah, I mean
avocado.
Maybe a what's it called? A plantain.
Let's keep in mind the reason that they were a tomato and a cucumber were because of the animation sort of technique and capabilities at the time that they had for creating it.
Correct.
What a lot of people don't know is that Veggietales was pretty cutting edge for its time, where essentially you could create and render out some basic shapes, aka sphere and oblong sphere, and then be able to like squash and stretch them in a way that makes them look more animatic.
But I do think there is a kind of complementary aspect to it, with one short and squat and one long and thin.
Absolutely.
So I think if we are keeping the tomato, we need a fruit that's long and thin, and I think a banana serves that purpose.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Why not the plantain?
Because plantains are small, Dan.
Are they? Aren't they the same size as bananas?
I don't believe so. I've had.
I think some camp. I think bananas
kinds.
are a subspecies of plantain, aren't they? They're like a genetically modified plantain, because they're all clones at this point. Ooh, spin-off, the Clone Wars, but it's all bananas instead of clones.
Or Blade Runner, but they're bananas.
Yeah.
Or The Godfather, but they're all bananas.
Alien, but they're all bananas.
Citizen Kane, but they're all bananas.
Wait. I do want to pause.
God is.
I think.
God is
No, my drawings are relevant. What I do want to talk about, picture not related. I do think we should start a TikTok account that is just movies, but we replace them with bananas. I think that would be a very popular TikTok account series where we just recreate famous scenes from movies, but with bananas in the main characters. I think if we called it movies but bananas, I think that would be an instant million followers.
Our whole budget would go to bananas and googly eyes.
Exactly. Bananas, googly eyes, and green screen effects. And that's all we need, right?
So yeah, after Googling, Alex was correct. There are a bunch of different varieties of plantains, some larger and some smaller than bananas.
Yeah.
So
we're both right. Yeah. The best possible ending.
The good ending.
Good ending.
Damn. Buggy wanna dance.
Amazing.
So what are we calling it? Fruit Fables, right?
Fruity
Wait,
Fable.
it doesn't need to be an alliteration. It wasn't an alliteration to begin with.
Yeah, I know, but I just that was the first thing I
it's
came
true.
up with.
If you've got a better name,
That's true.
I know, but I was like, no, I wasn't necessarily saying
what
like
about
we don't
morality
need to do
munchies?
Again, alliterative, doesn't need to be.
Is that lettuce?
It's a plantain.
I
think it needs to
Who asked for this?
I think it needs to
Like
include
lettuce.
fruit because Veggietales had veggies.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
How do their eyes look? That's their like garbage. That's right.
Yeah, pretty bad.
So it's like a weird blob shape. They do the eye touch thing, which is the worst thing a cartoon can do.
Hey,
Uh,
leave
I
Sonic
mean-
alone.
At least it's not. Oh, Dan said Sonic. For a second there, it didn't register.
Alex,
what
you
Dan
have to make
said.
your character looking up at my character, because that's how they do.
They need to have very tensiony eyes.
That's how they do, and then it's just a little crescent moon shape. It's the mouths. Yep. My reference footage is good. Oh, they do have teeth. That's horrifying. Okay, good to know.
As all fruit do.
Fruity fable. I love that it's still a tomato. I think this is a good choice. It feels very on brand for our stories. Amazing.
Yeah, it makes it so.
What is our original story gonna be? Right? What's the one reality tour?
Wait, we do have to have a Nietzsche character, and it's just a sideways banana with eyes on the top.
And a giant mustache.
Yeah, the banana is the mustache.
Oh, I get you.
I think that the broccoli kids can be replaced by grapes.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, let's look at the cast. Let's look at the cast of Veggietales.
Yeah. We gotta recast Veggietales.
All right, so the celery professor-y person. I don't remember who that is.
Yes. He's the one who gets upset because they never existed. Stop telling people.
Chaotic good improv.
Hey, chaotic good improv. You picked a weird stream to pop on into.
The question for you all is, have you seen Veggietales? Because if you have not, you're going to be lost, like me.
So basically, what's going to happen is we've been making movie posters for movie ideas and TV shows and apparently musicals that we've had for a long time. To give you a brief highlight, we talked about turning the hit video game series Portal into a musical. Lots there. I want to write a show that's basically Law & Order SVU, but it features puppets. Dan wants to make a movie called Moonboat, about capitalists on the moon who have to, but it's also an apocalypse-style movie about volcanoes. I
should add a note quickly before we move on. Dom's idea is not just the Happy Time Murders. That's been brought up a couple times.
Yes.
This one is not self-aware at all and does not reference the fact that there are puppets in this universe.
Yes, correct. Max wanted to make an anime about a science guy who's basically Science MacGyver with chemistry specifically, and they're in a essentially a battle with their longtime science rival. And then I also wanted to make another anime called Open Source Academy, which is a high school shonen battle anime about Quiz Bowl-esque trivia. And that's all the pitches so far tonight, I think.
Did we talk about Portal the musical?
We did talk about Portal the musical. But yes, anyways, we decided we wanted to have a more secular version of Veggietales. We're working on the poster now for Fruity Fables to see what this could be. We're having a tough time figuring out what story to put in for our Fruity Fable. So if you have any ideas,
well, because in Veggietales they did a lot of stories from the Bible, right?
Yeah.
So
pretty much exclusively.
So I mean, they could just do a bunch of just historical stories,
I guess.
It has to push an agenda, right?
Yeah, I mean, with the moral, right?
Oh,
it's
if it has to push an agenda, then we could do American Tall Tales.
I don't want a patriotic agenda. That's not the type of agenda I want.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying it's a good agenda with those.
I was thinking instead of silly songs for Larry, we do moral conundrums with whoever our thing is. Harry, I don't know. It's Harry Banana. So it's just him being the trolley problem, but it's also set to music, right? That's what I imagine moral conundrums with Harry is. So it's boom, 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 boom.
And the
sitting on trolley, driving a trolley with a big old track, sitting on the thing, and you got the
So is it pushing Marxist multiculturalism? Is that what it's pushing?
Maybe.
The tomato. So the tomato in Veggietales is Bob the Tomato, which means that our tomato is Rob the Tomato.
Rob the Tomato and Harry the Banana.
Oh yeah. Ox Melissa says they do witchcraft instead.
Maybe. All things are possible.
I like it.
Today we're gonna learn about Wicca.
JMLD says, today we're talking about the tale of Baphomet the Destroyer.
Look, I think this is a show that's going to be open to exploring all of these different,
There you go.
different religions, right? And I think it'll be like, be a little skeptical of what you're about to see, but also it's important to learn these types of things, right, kids? So.
Well, it could be that like multiple characters sort of have different like belief systems and whatever, and each episode can like they can learn from all of them.
Yes.
So it's like even if it's like you don't necessarily line up, it's like just like making the connections with people and also learning stuff from everybody's like culture and whatnot.
Who's putting a pentagram underneath our Fruity Fables?
Ah, yes, exactly what I meant for. Look, when we go and hang out with the one Satanist fruit, kids might be persuaded to him, but doesn't mean we're not gonna have another episode for all the other ones.
There is gonna be an episode where they go visit. Oh, you do find out that Rob the Tomato is an active member of the Church of Satan.
Wait,
yeah.
was their father God in Veggietales?
I don't know.
Was
about
there
that.
what?
JMLG said instead of God, their dad is the flying spaghetti monster.
Wow.
Were they directly birthed from God? Are they?
God is the father,
we're all
right?
children of God.
Look,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe no more than God is all of
wait a
our
minute.
fathers.
Wait a
You know
minute.
how parents aren't supposed to have favorites, but then the whole Jesus thing is really.
Wait,
And apparently
Just saying.
Veggietales.
Wait a
I never
minute.
got a book, God.
Do you think?
We're all God's children, but clearly him was the favorite.
Do you
He's
think?
not even the oldest. It's bullshit. Why isn't Adam the favorite? I'm just saying it's unfair.
Technically, he is the oldest because he is God.
Adam's the oldest.
Adam's oldest. He's
Well,
the oldest.
God was there.
God hates Adam.
Yeah, God was super mean to him.
God
Oh
was
my God,
before
Adam's
Adam.
that like kid who got kicked out of the house and then joined the military and then came back and dad still wasn't proud of him.
Ugh.
Rough stuff.
Do you think God actually had 3 children in the Garden of Eden, and it was Adam, Eve, and the apple, and then he got really pissed when one of them ate the other one?
What? Dude, what are you talking about?
I don't know. If we're saying the fruit and the veggies can be direct descendants of God, maybe
okay.
the apple was too. You know?
I'm over here,
To be
Dan's over
fair,
here. We're trying to
That is not even near the weirdest story in the Bible. To be fair,
Oh,
if that
absolutely
were
not.
how.
It's true.
Also, John Galt brings up a great point. On their discussion about Eastern religions, it's Taoism.
Tomatoes. Yes. I love it.
Well, here's the
Instead
thing.
of Shinto, it's Pinto.
Listen, no.
Oh my God.
Here's the thing. In
welcome back.
VeggieTales, it wasn't some vegetable version of Christianity. It
No,
just
it's true.
straight up
Straight up.
was Christianity.
It's true. Yeah. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I think Fruity Fables is coming along. It's coming along. Welcome, Voidsick. We're talking about our secular VeggieTales parody right now called Fruity Fables.
We need some action item going on in the background. What's occurring?
What's
in the
happening in the background?
Who were typically the bad guys in VeggieTales? Weren't they like avocados or something?
The avocado.
What's that anti-hipster agenda they were going for?
Yeah.
Just make
They
it.
were like
Just put,
they were some kind of like they were avocado shaped. I don't remember
let's just
exactly.
let's
what
just
they
make
were.
it avocado toast.
Wait, what?
Are
I googled
avocados?
VeggieTale bad guys, and it gave me a list of things, and one of them is just Mephisto (parentheses Marvel). I don't know what that means.
What? Well, I mean, Mephisto is in Marvel, but what?
Oh my God.
Why is he on this
So,
list?
hold on.
What is
If
happening?
anybody was following the WandaVision fan theories, don't worry, this isn't a spoiler. Everybody thought it was going to be Mephisto who was the bad guy for WandaVision. Turns out he was just busy doing VeggieTales.
Oh, okay. So there was like a squash, and there was
Yeah,
another
squash seems
cucumber.
Is that an apricot? Maybe a cherry tomato. Who's to say?
Nebuchadnezzar. Love that. Love that.
Yeah, guys, are we using the VeggieTales show or the original manga for VeggieTales?
That's so good.
Because the show has a lot of filler arcs, and we don't really need to get into that.
You know how like Evangelion has like a lot of Christianity like symbolism? It's Neon Genesis Evangelion, but you recast all the characters as vegetables.
I can dig that. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Yeah.
Oh man, I had a Larry Boy video game. I don't remember. I think I had it for the computer, or maybe it was a Flash game that I found or something. I don't know, but like, I just all of a sudden remembered that I had a Larry Boy video game, which is interesting that exists.
It was Larry Boy, because that was like the alternate superhero, right? We had like the plungers on his ears and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's weird how like every show from that time period has just their character is also a superhero in some way too. Like even the Muppets had it, right? Because there's Super Grover. There was Duck Dodgers, who's like the Daffy Duck version of it. There's what is
Darkwing
it?
Duck, which is
Darkwing Duck.
DuckTales, was that?
DuckTales. There's like what is it? There's like the Millhouse one from Simpsons. There's just like everyone had a period of time, even before superheroes were like popular, where everyone was like, "What if this guy is also a superhero?" There was Monkey. He was a superhero from Dexter's Lab with the series Dial M for Monkey. I don't know if you remember that.
We do need the Snyder cut of Larry Boy.
It's true. It's true.
Oh God.
The butt cut.
I love that. That'd be amazing.
Oh my God. How many buttholes do you think are going to be in just Snyder's Justice League?
I mean, 4 hours. I expect to see at least 30.
Yeah, there has to be at least like 12.
Each superhero has to have their own butt reveal at some point.
Can all be at the same time if they want, but it has to happen.
One single frame.
So we got there. Fruity Fables.
We did it. We made Fruity Fables.
As long as we don't get sued by Fruity Pebbles, I think we're going to be in the clear.
Fruity Pebbles and Aesop's Fables team up to create a brand to sue us.
Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to create
Is that the sun?
dynamic. Just trying to create some dynamic contrast.
Oh, it's a
in this
party.
poster. I don't know what's happening.
They're at a mixer. That's where they meet. They're at a fruit salad mixer.
So Portal the musical.
These two may or may not be in a relationship.
Look,
Well, they are.
look, they're
They're
very
in a living
open.
partnership.
Yeah.
Is what it is. They're very open about it. But it's not only if people ask. That's the thing. Yeah, there's definitely an episode where they talk about polygamy.
Huh.
Like,
Yeah.
Damn.
All the other fun things. Alrighty. Well, I think that is a pin. I think for our movie poster extravaganza.
we can't go anywhere. We've already reached the peak.
We've hit it. If you're interested in backing or know anyone interested in backing any of our fun ideas, Cough the Portal musical, let me know. You don't email Dan. He's just not going to read the email. He'll respond with mean feedback. But essentially, yeah, we look forward to your ideas. Thank you so much, Chaotic Good, for the raid. Always a pleasure to see our friends from there as well. And if you are interested in seeing us do actual improv instead of this shenanigans, come back on Friday. There's not going to be any, unfortunately. We finished our ASM March, so there'll be no more of that for the foreseeable future, unless Dan is suddenly inspired to do more. But so we will go ahead and end stream here with a good old raid. Let's see who's out and about. Let's go raid Dandy Does It. It's been a while since we've gotten a chance to go say hi to Dandy. Yeah. We love him. Let's go give him some stuff. If you want to see some really cool visual stuff, stick around. Give your love to Dandy. But in the meantime, see y'all on Friday, and hope it's a good one. Good one for all y'all out there. Goodbye.
All right, bye, folks.
Hey, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for coming.
Make your own posters at home.
Yeah.
And we're out. Yeah.